Hi, everybody. All right. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar on navigating your career journey. We are very excited to have you here and really looking forward to sharing more tips and tricks on really practical tools for navigating your career journey. So here is an agenda so that you can know when I'm starting, when I'm in the middle, when I'm going to be about done, and it'll be time for Q&A. So I'll do some brief introductions. We will then talk about what it means to understand the job market and how you can do that, how to build a strong personal brand, some networking strategies. I'll give a very brief overview of Nexford University, who we are, and then I really want to spend time answering your questions about how you can navigate your own career journey. So like I said, please use that Q&A for any questions that you have throughout the presentation. And here we go. So my name is Jennifer Bangoura, and I am Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. I'm originally from the United States, and I currently work for Nexford from Malawi in Southern Africa. My background is in higher education, online learning, and career development. And what I do at Nexford is spend a lot of my time thinking about how we can support our learners and alumni to take what they're learning in their programs and transfer that to their employment. So that education to employment pathway. For a lot of us, I've worked with undergraduate, graduate students, job seekers throughout the United States, the Middle East, North Africa, and Sub-Saharan Africa as well. No matter where people are from that I've worked with, people have a real hard time understanding how to navigate their career journey. So when Lydia generously connected us with Generation, and I started from the organization in the US and some of the other programs around the world, I thought I'd love to dig a little bit deeper into some actual practical strategies that you can apply to your own career, job search, wherever you find yourself. Because while we might not all be in an active job search, we can all be making small adjustments in our approach to be ready when that time comes. And again, some people will say, be better at X, Y, or Z, but when people don't break it down to what that really means or the how, I know that it can be quite challenging. So that's what I want to do today, is really focus on how you can do different elements to improve your success in your job search and your career. And I always keep a notebook next to my computer. Maybe you do too. So please take notes throughout. And if you have any questions, jotting down. I'm seeing some hands being raised. We're not going to have folks come off mute during the presentation, but please do, if you have questions, keep them in the Q&A, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on that throughout. And answer your questions as I'm going. So first, I wanted to talk about understanding the job market and what that really means. And when I think about a job market or a labor market, I think about these three things that are on the screen. So we have industries, companies, and people. And if you came to me one-on-one and you said, Jennifer, I want to have a successful job search. Unless you were my, partner or my child, and I knew you really, 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 really well, I cannot say to you, here's what you should do to have a job that you're going to love and that you'll be successful at. The best person who knows how, themselves is you. So I really want you to look at yourself as an expert in your career and what you want out of your career, and what's going to bring you either joy and or money and success. So these three different ways to understand the job market are, again, industries, companies, and people. So when I say industries, and it looks like some of you are coming from, are based in Kenya, others are based in Nigeria, you might be based somewhere else. And really, this could be a global approach, so it doesn't matter where you're sitting. But you can Google, what are the top industries in the place that you do live? Or what are top industries hiring right now? An industry is something, if you have a LinkedIn profile, everyone on LinkedIn has one industry connected to their profile. It could be marketing, it could be higher education, it could be communications, it could be business development. There are lots of different industries out there. But when you have a good understanding of industries, from there, you might be able to reverse engineer and think, yes, you know what? I have worked previously in manufacturing and I really enjoyed that. So now, from knowing this industry, let me move to companies, because an industry is that big umbrella up top, and then beneath that you have companies within an industry. So, and I'm going to share some links in the next slide of where you can find these companies. So don't worry if you're thinking, how do I find these industries and companies? I'm going to show you how to do that. So a company approach to understanding the job market means you might have a notebook, you might have a spreadsheet. I'm going to share a tool, another tool that's free that you can track. But I would really encourage you to, if you want to understand the job market where you are, find 5 to 10 companies that align with either the work that, the role that you want to have, or the industry that you want to work in. And I will show you ways to find those companies. But when you have 5 to 10 companies, you can, stop having 100 tabs open on your computer or on your phone and really think, okay, I have a list of 5 to 10 companies. How can I start following them on social media to understand what that company does and what they are about and what is happening, what updates are happening. When you start following companies on social media, and that might be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, over time, and this is a long-term strategy, you will start to develop a deeper understanding in a passive way, so without actively doing it, of what that company does. Why that's important is because that's either going to show you why you really like that company, or maybe why you really don't like that company. And so that's just good over time to keep adding to your information that you have. And then finally, people. So people work at companies and people hire people. And and this is what's great about LinkedIn, and we'll talk about that in a little bit on some networking strategies. When you can start following people, and I encourage people to do this on LinkedIn, who work at different companies, over time, they will share updates from that company. They will share job openings. They will share information about their experience working at a company or working in an industry that's going to help you understand the different trends or the different news that's happening in that company and industry. Nobody knows everything. We're all always learning, and it's so valuable when you can follow interesting people, and I think everyone can be interesting, on different social media platforms to really deepen your own understanding of the job market and what's out there and what's available. And I'll give you, again, some specific examples of what I mean. So Samson, thank you for joining. We're not going to go back, but you will get a recording, so you can watch that if you want to watch that in a bit. So sticking with the understanding the job market, and I did focus this on Kenya, but you can do this no matter where you're based. So first, I pulled out some of the top job search sites in Kenya, and I linked them here, so you'll have this as a resource when you get the recording and you get a copy of the presentation. And what's great about these, and I've looked at them, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers on LinkedIn, and I linked their LinkedIn pages here specifically. These 5, and I know there are more, are constantly posting job openings. And when you see a job opening, I want to encourage you to look at the company that is attached to that job opening. Because time, that's going to help you understand the job market where you are. Now, you might see a job that you're like, nah, I'm not so interested in that position, or maybe I don't have the skills yet to do that job, but the company sounds interesting. So let me add it to my spreadsheet. So over time, or my, document that I'm tracking company names, so that over time I can go back and revisit and think, is this somewhere that I could work or that I'm interested in learning more about? Yeah. Again, here I pulled up LinkedIn is such a rich resource. What I like to do when people are really starting out or even established, but especially when you are starting at square one and thinking, I want to start a new job search, what companies should I even think about? I like looking at LinkedIn top places to work. They have this throughout sub-Saharan Africa and throughout Africa. They have it for, I believe, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt. They pull this information directly from LinkedIn, so it's pretty rich data set. And I have this linked here, the top companies at the bottom, so you have a link. I like to look at that page and think, okay, who are these top companies? When you click on the company, and I can show you how to do this, you'll see a tab that says, home, about, posts, people. For every LinkedIn page, for every company on LinkedIn, there's a people tab where you can see who works at that company. And then from there, you can follow that person, you can reach out to connect and personalize a connection request. To then, the ultimate goal is to understand what it's like to work at a company, what it's like to work in a specific industry. And sometimes you'll be surprised because maybe you think that company was listed on a top, LinkedIn, and then you talk to a couple people. I recommend, talking to a couple people so that you get you can get a really good insight to the company, because you might talk to one person who had a really bad day and they say this is the worst place to work. And then you talk to somebody else who says that they really love it. Everyone brings their own experience, right? So this is where I would start when I'm looking at companies. And what's great is when you pull up LinkedIn, especially if you're on desktop, but I think it's on mobile as well. If you pull up a company page, it'll suggest you on the side, people also viewed this company when they viewed the one that you're looking at. And that can sort of serve as this ongoing virtuous cycle of introducing you to new companies, new industries that maybe you hadn't heard about before. So now so I want to prepare you all. We're going to go into a little interactive space. So it doesn't have to be a competition, but get ready to get in the chat, because we're going to talk about building a personal brand. Okay. So I'd love to know, what does it mean to you to have a personal brand? And you can answer that question or both. And who do you know who has a good one? And please, I love this. Please do keep those questions coming in the Q&A, because I will spend time. I'm hoping to spend about 20 minutes on the Q&A at the end. So this question on the screen here, Kevin Hart. Okay. So what does it mean to have a personal brand, and who do you know who has a good one? So Wynn says Kevin Hart, and I'd love to know if you want to share, what makes that person have a solid personal brand. And Oprah, absolutely. Oprah has a great personal brand. It can be someone in your real life too, which Vicky, you might be on a first name basis. I mean, I guess we're all on first name basis with Oprah, but it's that in your real life. Obama, that absolutely. These are such great examples. Is there anyone else that people want to put in the chat? Steve Harvey, love the comedians out here. Anyone else want to share somebody who has a good personal brand? Bob Collymore. Okay, that's great. Yeah, Elon Musk, absolutely. Trevor Noah, everyone's favorite. And you know what's great about this list that you're sharing is all of these people have, what could be Bill Gates, what could be called good personal brand. Elon Musk, we might be up for debate on that one potentially, but he certainly has a personal brand. Actually, Richard Branson from Virgin Money, definitely. I'm glad you shared that one, Austin. Miles Monroe. Over time, the people that are sharing in the chat, there's a couple things to keep in mind. One, their personal brand has not happened overnight, right? It's been over a period of time. It's consistency. It's showing up in the same way over and over again, right? So whether that's through social media posts or their actually, their public appearances, their speeches, they often have a consistent message that they're sharing and in a consistent way. And while you all are listing a lot of celebrities, thank you, Vicky, that's wonderful. Vicky says personal branding is something people know you by. And that's absolutely true. So celebrities have a personal brand and normal people like you and me have a personal brand too, although we might have celebrities here in attendance, so no offense if there are. I am not. So now I want to show you, okay, you've thought of some people who have really good personal brands. Let's look at some practical ways to have a personal brand. So here, this is from a blog post that we put out at Nexford on personal branding here. So there's 10 ways, and I've linked to the article here at the end. So first, it's having a focus. And when I think of this, and I'm going to show, I hope, Lydia, I hope you're going to be okay with this because I've pulled you out in the next slide as someone who has a great personal brand. But what are the 3 to 5 things that you want to be known for? Now, people get caught up in this of like, I don't know, I want to be known for a lot of things, or I have no idea what I want to be known for. And I want to encourage you to spend time thinking like, what do I want to be known for today and the skills that I have? And then maybe what are 1 or 2 things that I want to be known for in the future? So maybe I'm not a really excellent product manager, but I'm taking a product management course. And that's something that I want to, people to know me for in my next career transition. So that's okay if you are not already, have not achieved what you want to be known for, but it's a future focus. So think about the present and the future. So have that focus. If you're struggling to think of the 3 to 5 things that you want to be known for, ask a close friend, ask a family member. And this can have a personal element, but ultimately, really, it's like professionally, when you think of me, what comes to mind? And it might be surprising because something might come to mind that you're like, oh, I didn't know people thought of me as an expert in insert that thing. But actually, it's true. I do talk about that all the time. I, post articles about that, or I think about it and I read about it. So if you are struggling to think of it, then ask for others who know you well. And okay, good. I'm glad Lydia is going to be okay with me calling her out in a positive way. So next, be genuine. More and more, we are all going to need to we all already rely on our personal brand for our careers, okay? Especially in job markets when you're working in your home country or locally or in an industry or a company where people know you. Because somebody's going to say, oh yeah, I worked with Jennifer in that last job and she was not so great, or I worked with her and she was amazing. Whether that person is a formal reference or not, people talk. So be genuine, because you don't, people are going to know if you talk about one thing on social media and then behind closed doors, you're not that same way. So I encourage, it's also easier to be genuine because then you don't have to worry if you're telling the truth or not, right? Tell a story. Now, we all have stories to tell. And some people say, no, I don't have anything interesting. Believe me, you do. And I know you do. So and I don't even know you, but I know you do. So think about your experience thus far. Think about your generation experience. Think about your career. Think about things you do in your community, volunteering. When you reflect back, and this can be, no matter how old you are, it can be from your high school, from after secondary into present day. What are the 3 or so stories that come to mind about the work that you've done or the education or volunteering that you've done? People connect with stories. And so when you can tell stories, people can either see themselves in that story or they can imagine it for someone else. So I really encourage you to think about how you can improve the stories that you're telling to really showcase like what your contributions were and how they align with that focus that you've identified, right? Those 3 to 5 things that you want to be known for. Be consistent. So again, you all are putting great people here in the chat, and those people over time, they have a consistency to their personal brand and their story. That's okay if things shift over time. We don't tell the same stories every time, right? Our stories change, and that's okay. But be consistent means, just showing up in the same way as much as possible. Be ready to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. People appreciate vulnerability. None of us are perfect. So, you're going to make some social media posts, and some of them will be flops and some of them will be really successful. And that's okay because we learn from both our successes and our failures. And then these next 5 are, so you want to make sure you're creating a positive impact. Follow a successful example. All these people that you're listing in the chat, I encourage you to, have some productive, although all of it could be productive, social media time. Look at what these people are posting. Richard Branson's a great example. He is so active on Instagram right now, I'm sure across all channels. He has a book he's promoting. He's telling stories about his own experience as a CEO. He's telling about the times that he's failed. But I like following people on social media to see the way that they format their stories and their posts so that I can emulate that myself. Live your brand. This aligns with that being genuine. It's nice to be able to be the same person and communicate that at work, in your family, in your personal life, so you can live it out in all of those spheres. Let others tell your story. It's really great when you're not in the room and somebody else can say great things about you. And I think that's what we can all strive toward, is to have others tell our story. And the way that they can do that is because we share our story with other people. So there's a little bit of a vulnerability to that. And then leave a legacy. I know no matter where you are in your career or your life, there's somebody else who's looking up to you who wants to be like you. And then I'm sure you are looking up to somebody else who you want to be like as well. And I think we all want to strive to be an example, a positive example for other people. And we can think about how that reflects in all of our interactions. And one of the stories that I like to share to really bring home this, our personal brand shows up in lots of ways. I assume, maybe none of us have met any of these celebrities in person. Maybe you have, but we still know their brand and we know their story. The same can be said of you. So the WhatsApp status updates, the LinkedIn posts, the tweets, Instagram posts, if you're public, Facebook. On WhatsApp, I was connected with, I am still, I have a friend who has a really nice job and a very high level job. Every day she was posting 10 things on WhatsApp on her status update about going out drinking, memes, about can't wait till Friday so I can have that drink. I had to ultimately unfollow her because the things she was posting were coloring my judgment of her. And I really wanted to say, like, do you realize that, I hope this isn't the number that you share with your colleagues or, in the workplace, but that is one way that your personal brand can be created, and it's not necessarily a positive one. So I want you to think critically in this time. Social media is not going away. And you can use it for good, and it can, of course, always also be a detriment. But a lot of the things that we share becomes public. So just reflect on how that's showing up for you in your life. So now I hope I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but I want to show you two wonderful examples of what I mean when I say how you build a strong personal brand and how you can communicate that with the world in a free, quick and easy way. So the best example, of course, we're talking here about navigating your career journey. So I'm going to really focus on LinkedIn because that's the best place right now that you can do that. So when I was getting ready for the webinar, and if you do have questions, please do put them in the chat, because we've got some great questions coming in here. So I said, well, let me find some people who are connected to Generation and show, of course, I know Lydia. I don't know Nelson. But in a glance like this, I have I have really great insight into who these people are and what they care about. And you can have this same effect on people too if you spend a little time nurturing your LinkedIn profile. And again, this will be the best way to me professionally that you're going to be able to own your personal brand is through LinkedIn. So with Lydia, I can see from her headline, which again, when I'm scrolling on my desktop or on my phone, all I see are your picture, your name, your headline. When on desktop, I get to see these nice little hashtags and I can see the cover photo. So both of these people, Lydia and Nelson, have great profile photos that are clear, that are zoomed in. They are not with somebody else. They're not doing a selfie. It's professional, and that's, it doesn't have to be a professional headshot. It's nice if it can be, but if you have a friend who has a phone, a camera with a phone, and you can get them to take a nice picture of you, that's enough, right? These cover photos show me that they what they care about. So Lydia has uploaded a cover photo from Nexford, which is a testament to her commitment to her employer. Similarly for Nelson, I can tell that they really care about the work that they're doing and that they are an engaged employee. And then again, you look at these headlines, they have their focus here: strategic partnerships, client success, channel management, workforce development, youth employability. I now associate those words, whether consciously or unconsciously, with Lydia. So now, of course, this is an example that she's my colleague, and but if I saw job opportunities, or if I saw a conference that I thought would be relevant over time, as I see posts that Lydia makes on LinkedIn, which again, when she makes those posts, this is all the information that's going to show up, I will start to associate that with her. Similarly for Nelson, he's a youth employability partner. He has these different hashtags. He cares about skills development, career development, youth employment. Again, think about how this shows up for you. Are you putting your best face forward on a social media platform? And if you are saying to yourself, Jennifer, I just don't know my LinkedIn profile, can you take a look? I would love to. However, I'm sorry, I don't have time. There's over 140 people on this call. So that would be a lot. However, I've done hundreds of LinkedIn reviews, and there's this free tool that I've linked here. So you'll see that in the presentation when we send the follow-up, that does a free LinkedIn profile review for you. So you have to do it on Chrome, I assume on your desktop. I guess if you logged into LinkedIn on Chrome on your phone, it could work, I don't know. And what it does is that you pull up your LinkedIn profile and you can click on this little tool, and it will do an automatic LinkedIn review for you section by section. So your profile picture, it'll look at that banner or cover photo, your LinkedIn URL, have you edited it to take away that string of random letters and numbers at the end? Does your headline clearly communicate who you are and what you care about? All of these sections that I would give the same advice to you on, they do free and automatically through this really great tool. So that's, those are some tips around building a strong personal brand. So we've talked about understanding the job market, building a strong personal brand, and now we will do an overview on some networking strategies. So 3 key areas for your networking strategies are to start with your inner circle. This can be your friends, family members, colleagues, fellow generation alumni. What I love about this is you might think even, you might have a close friend and you think, well, they don't work in the industry I want to work in, or they don't have the job that I want to have. How could they help me in my career? And our friends and our family very likely are the ones that know us best. So when you proactively reach out to somebody and say, can you think of one person that I could talk to? I've now decided I want to look at these 3 industries or these 3 companies or these 3 types of roles. Then when you are specific with the information with your inner circle, they're going to say, oh yeah, I just learned about this company. You should talk with this person. That can be an invaluable resource. Next, and I don't need to tell any of you this because you're all here, but embrace opportunities. So this could be attending online events. Thank you for being here, right? Participating in webinars, going, whether that, different social media groups, liking and commenting on someone's posts consistently on LinkedIn will definitely keep you top of mind. Volunteering is an incredible way to not only build your skill set, but of course, doing something good in your community. And also, you really never know who you're going to meet and what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, volunteering, it's a win-win because something good hopefully is happening at the end of it. And whether a job opportunity can come out of that from meeting another volunteer or potentially working with that organization, you've done something good for your community. And then finally, for networking, really do your research. So this is actually not only my best networking advice is to do your research. And what I mean by that is looking at someone's LinkedIn profile. Have they shared a podcast they've been on? Have they shared blog posts about the work that they've done? If they have zero, social media presence, then you're going to have a little bit of a harder time, but it's not impossible. So say, I work at Nexford University, but I don't have a LinkedIn profile, and you want to talk with me about the work that I do and understand, is Nexford somewhere that I would want to work? Well, maybe I don't have a profile, but the company I work for does. So then that means setting a timer for 30 minutes, going to that company website, clicking on all the tabs, really reading through do they have an annual report that you can look through? Have they shared, different updates that are happening or press releases? Did they have a Twitter page or a social media presence? Very likely that you can follow to really understand, so that then when you come to have a conversation with somebody, you can say, I saw on LinkedIn that you all posted that you just achieved accreditation last Friday. Wow. Tell me more about that process. That must have been really difficult, or I'd love to understand what that was like. And then I think, wow, this person cares about what they're doing because they have taken the initiative to do that research. I can't tell you how many times that I've gotten in a phone call with somebody and I will have shared, hey, check out this podcast interview I did before so you can understand my background. And they get in the call and they say, so what did you do in your career before? And I think, wow, it seems like you don't maybe care that much about this because you haven't really taken the time to do a little bit of research. And even just doing a little bit of research puts you leaps and bounds above most people. Okay. It's okay if you're thinking to yourself, I haven't done that before. That's all right. the next time you have a conversation with somebody or an informational interview, just take that time, take 30 minutes before your call to really improve your understanding of that company or that industry, so that you can have a productive conversation. We're coming up on up to the Q&A. So I just want to make sure if you have questions that are coming up, please do put them in the chat, in the Q&A, so that we can cover them. So we've talked about understanding the job market, building your personal brand, some networking strategies that you can apply. I'll give a brief overview of Nexford University and who we are, and then I love to go to these really great questions that we have in the Q&A. So like I said, I'm Jennifer Bangoura, and I'm Nexford University's Director of Career Innovation. I've put on the slide here just a few bullet points if you aren't familiar with Nexford. Our mission is to build greater social and economic mobility by providing learners access to high quality, affordable, dynamic education that's online to prepare them for the global workforce. So we're 100% online, and it is a true story. As of last week, we are fully accredited and licensed in the United States. We've had over 4,000 learners from over 100 countries. We are all deeply committed to the success of our learners and alumni, and we have a stackable credential model, meaning you can take courses, certificates, associate degrees, undergrad, and MBA. And unlike traditional universities, we start on the 1st of every month. So January 1, Feb 1, March 1, coming up next week, we have learners starting every month. I've been with Nexford for a year and a half now, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to get to do what I do and support people having access to such high quality, and then what we think is some of the most affordable online education out there. I want to take a moment before we get to the Q&A, because this is a technique used in learning around metacognition. You have taken in a lot of information during this webinar about navigating your career journey. You came to this webinar because you were curious about the topic. It seemed relevant to you. Again, we've talked about understanding the job market, building your personal brand, and networking strategies. So I want you to take a minute to jot down on your notebook, or if you have a Google, this webinar. What are 2 to 3 things, or maybe even just one, that you're going to do afterwards? And if we have some brave souls who'd be willing to share in the chat, I'd love to highlight some examples, because I think we can all learn from one another. So if you can share that, that's great, or you can just write it down for yourself. And I'd love to know what they are, and then we'll get into the rich Q&A that awaits us. One of my takeaways is I'm going to look up some of the people that you all listed who have good personal brands. I'm putting their name down here. So that's what my takeaway is. Oh, we have some? Okay, so we have someone's going to revamp their LinkedIn, write down 10 companies that they're interested in, updating their profile picture, trying that LinkedIn tool. You all are given okay, this is good. Some of the things they stuck. That's great. And Wynne and everybody else, WYNNE, who answered, you can also use this tool, Teal, to track companies. There's a company tracker, and I can show you all how to use that. So this is great. More networking on LinkedIn, try to build out a little bit of a brand strategy, update the LinkedIn profile. That's great. And what I love about LinkedIn is I don't want you to feel stressed out or the pressure to become a full-time social media influencer. You don't have to have a personal brand. What it is that over time, maybe that's once a week, once a month, can you share an article about something that you read or that you're interested in that aligns with your focus, your professional focus? That could be the industry, the companies that you're interested in, the types of roles that you're pursuing. So I think those are different ways. That's great. So we have a lot of LinkedIn updates that are going to be happening. So I'll move to the Q&A now. I really appreciate your thoughtful engagement here. That's great. Johnston, you've shared, change your profile, read stories from those who succeed, write down my focus. I love it. So I'm going to turn to the Q&A. And we'll share. So we have a great question that says, when starting out on LinkedIn, does sharing info about what you do, is it beneficial or will it make you noticeable by potential employers? Really great question. And the answer is absolutely. So I'll give a good example. I'm not going to be speedy enough to share this, although I can try. But because I really think this is I think this is one, it's a great question. And two, I think it's nice to have a practical example to show you what I mean. So some people say, how can I use LinkedIn if I have a job now and I don't want my employer to think I'm looking for something else, right? Or so when that's the case, I would encourage you to share information about the work that your company is doing. So here's an example. I'll put this on the screen. I'm a little biased. This is my husband, but share the success stories that your company has. So you can see here, sharing information about, if your company puts out a blog post, you're helping your communications to do that. And I can guarantee you they are going to appreciate the spread and the reach and the employer branding, just like with Lydia having that banner photo. It is very helpful. So I want to scroll here and show you a post I made last week that was about different conferences. So I said to myself, wow, I am seeing all these conferences that I cannot go to or that I wasn't invited to, which is okay. And I mean, then I don't need a formal invitation, but I thought, I wish I could go to these conferences. Well, maybe other people can, and they should know about that if they can go. If it's near them, they don't have to travel. So I tagged here, I thought of what are 5 conferences that I've been seeing. So it was the Africa Tech Summit. If you're in Nairobi, I'm sure you heard about it. The SandCalp Forum that's coming up next week. And then here are a few others. So I tagged when they had a LinkedIn page, I tagged them. I put a link to it so people could register. And then you can see here, people who reposted the article. So I had a colleague repost it, 2 colleagues reposted it. And then SandCalp Forum actually reshared my post. Now they have a little over 5,000 followers. So that showed up in their feed. They also liked the post. So if you scroll down, you can see who is liking it. Anyways, I don't need to show you, but they liked it. So over time, is this going to mean that, and I don't want to work for SandCalp Forum. I mean, who knows, maybe one day, but the intention here for me is my personal brand, right? What do I want people to associate with me? And I want people to think about these different conferences, workforce development, career services, and over time, that's how people can start to associate you with somebody who knows what's happening. And do I have a secret vault of information? No, this is publicly available information, right? So anybody could share something like that. And everybody has some sort of expertise or insights to share. So I hope that answers your question, Wynn, and it's a very good one. Yes. So wait a minute. Okay. So this one is, I quit my job, but my plan B failed. Now I'm broke and looking for my way back in, but my job search has not been successful. What can I do? So I would recommend that you apply a lot of the different strategies that we've discussed here. Look on those top companies, start building your network and reaching out to people to let people know. make sure your LinkedIn profile is updated. Recruiters everywhere in the world, in Kenya and Nigeria and Malawi, recruiters are using LinkedIn to find people who have the skills that you have. If you do not have your LinkedIn profile updated, it's going to be harder for people to find you. Now, I'm not saying that updating your profile, it means that the floodgates are going to open and you're going to get nonstop, reaching out from recruiters, but it can't hurt. And again, over time, it's going to support your personal brand and helping people know who you are and what you're interested in. Also, those websites I shared, they have lots of jobs that are specifically focused in Kenya, but also, other places as well. So here we have a very good question. These are all great questions. How do you deal with colleagues who are constantly fighting you at work because they feel threatened by you, especially when you're being complimented for the good work ethics that you have? This is hard because, I have an 8-year-old daughter who deals with jealous people, kids, and then I'm an adult myself. And, you're sharing this question. It doesn't go away from childhood to adulthood, right? We all have people in our lives who, are unhappy, and that comes out in being unkind to other people. I think in this case, it's like you have to focus on what you can control. Remember, you don't want to get sucked into that drama. You've got to focus on maintaining your good work ethic and not engaging in that negative space, because ultimately then that would start to reflect on you. If it becomes really a problem, and I hope it's not your supervisor that you're who's jealous, which that does happen, but if you can talk with somebody either in HR or confide in somebody who you think can advocate for you at your workplace, I would really encourage you to do that. And honestly, if it really continues to be a problem, you might need to start looking for other opportunities, but don't do that until you have maybe something else set up. So I'm sorry that you're experiencing that, and I hope that you can, focus on the good work that you're still doing and not give as much energy to the negativity. So thank you for that. So Duncan has a very intriguing question here. Does one have to follow one career path to be focused? Can one focus on 2 to 3 careers? Absolutely. So I think the world of work is shifting before our eyes, right? I don't know anybody in Malawi who has one job, right? People have maybe their formal employment, and then they have a piece of land that they're farming themselves, or that they have people farming, or they have motorcycles that they rent out, or, you all know people who have multiple jobs. So I think what's important here, I think as long as you come across as pretty focused on those 2 to 3 things, I think when you start to get more than 3, it can get to be a lot. But it's definitely possible. I think it's just a matter of understanding your own story and how you would connect the dots for somebody around your different 2 to 3 careers. Like, they might be very different things, but think about what is the thread that connects them? Like, what similarities? Is it the customer centric side? Is it the industry that you're working in, even though it's 2 to 3 different careers? And I don't know if you mean actually simultaneously or over your lives. We are all going to have different careers. There's no more, you do one job or get, and then you do that for the rest of your life. It's very rare that you'll find that. So that is totally normal. And we are all constantly at our tool belt and our skill set and upskilling and reskilling. Of course, at Nexford, that's something that we believe strongly in. But yeah, it's just the onus or the responsibility will be on you to communicate to others how these different careers or interests are connected, if you think that's important to do. So somebody says here, is it possible for someone to grow in a reverse chronological form? That is, identifying a career, going back to school and training on it, and then improving as you work. And I would say, if I understand the question correctly, Absolutely. And I think for many people, that is what happens is it's difficult now to say, I want to have this one job title or work in this one industry for the rest of my life, because job titles shift between different companies. They might mean different things. I personally don't believe in the motto of like, follow your passion, because I don't necessarily think it's realistic. And I do encourage people to really pay attention to the types of work that bring you joy. I didn't put this in the thing, but I'll show you quickly. If you are wondering, like, I encourage a values-based approach to work. So I will share my screen right now, and here is a values assessment that you can take. It's free. So I really encourage people to do an exercise like this of understanding your values, so that you yourself can think about what's important to me. Because again, just like if somebody comes to me and says, and I've had this happen, what's a job that I can have where I'll be happy? I don't know what makes you happy. Some people want a lot of money and that's all they care about. And of course, we all need a certain amount of money to live our lives and sustain ourselves and our families. But not everybody is motivated in the same way by money. Some people really value time and being with their family. And it's not that one is good and one is bad, it's just different, right? But you need to understand for yourself what your values are and what's important to you. Because over time, you might notice, oh, this is important to me, but I haven't been spending as much time building my skill set in that space. How can I improve there? Do I want to take a course, or do I want to learn from somebody by having a conversation? Should I follow more companies so I can learn from those industry trends and the articles they're sharing? Those are just some examples. Great question, by the way. So someone anonymous, I love the intrigue. You have given us great insights, thank you, on building a personal brand, which is very important, especially for freelancers who work remotely. Being a freelancer, one of the biggest challenges is getting clients. Kindly advise on the tips of how to go about it. Do you think geographical area affects this need, and how to beat discrimination, racial here, in these platforms? This is certainly, whether you're a freelancer where it's truly so important because your references and your clients are often how you get your next job. I think it's even more important, this personal branding, so that people can get to know you and from a distance. And more, of course, we saw this during COVID, but that was the only way that people could know about your work and what you're doing and what you're interested in. And I'm trying to think, there's a woman I follow who has been doing, but anyways, you might think in your own life, like, who are some other freelancers that you admire? And it might come down to, like, you come into this search bar and you put in the word freelancer and use different people, services, jobs, companies. So I'm going to click on people, and it's showing me people. You might click on their profile and then say, look, we have almost 3 million, right? And you might pick someone who's in your area or not. They could be anywhere, and start to see what about their profile. And I'm sorry, you can't see my screen. So here on, I'll go back to this page, but sorry, to the initial search. But you come to freelancer, you put it in here in the top, you hit enter, and you might click on posts, because who's writing about being a freelancer? And you can scroll through and see what resonates with you. What could you emulate for your own personal brand as a freelancer? What can you learn about? Here's somebody who is in Kenya, who is writing for MasterCard. Here's where people are getting, this is like such rich information and super helpful. And then what I would do is I would look at who liked this post who are experts in the freelance space. So like internal recruiting platform to recruit African work specifically. So you can look at this. Lorraine, same, she's focused on refugees. Scroll through and see who's somebody that you could follow and either learn from them or, learn what you like, learn what you don't like, right? So great question. I think that's really interesting. Good question. I'm currently unemployed, but I would like to keep you in my feed active on LinkedIn. What are the things you can advise I can post to show my activeness? The other day, somebody reached out to me. I know we're coming up on time, but I'm going to show you what somebody reached out to me, and I was so surprised because I thought, how did they even find my profile? I always customize my conversations with people, but this woman reached out to me. So she said, hi, came across your profile on the event being hosted by the Kenyan tech recruiters and product managers. It'll be a pleasure to join your network. So you can see that here in the messaging, right? I didn't know event she meant. I thought she meant we have a Nexford event happening next month. We're all invited to. So I shared that with her. I said, is it this event? Right? So even she shared this post, which I had just liked it, right? And hopefully it'll come up. Let's see, maybe not. Oh, bummer. So give me one moment. And from that post, so if I were unemployed and I was thinking, what do I have to share? I would say, let me look around and see what events are happening that are in my industry or in my space so that people continue to associate me with a topic. So this is a really fabulous one. I'm sure this was a great event, but I would look at the people who liked this and I would think, do I want to connect with them? We have a recruiter, Reinhard, he'll be at our event next month and speak about recruiting. Look at these people. Of course, you might not be a product manager. I don't know what type of work that you're doing, but whatever it is, I can guarantee culture, tourism, something is happening, and you can Google, your country and then that industry and look up what are some either articles that are coming about that I can share with other people. So I hope that's helpful about being active on LinkedIn. And if you're nervous about posting, which I understand people are, like and comment your here. This is nice. That write a nice comment, or this is super exciting, really looking forward to attending. It's going to improve they want people to you're helping them. So leaving thoughtful comments on LinkedIn posts is actually rated. This woman, she had commented, who reached out to connect. She can comment on one of my posts. And I highly recommend that strategy. We're going to need a part 2. Your question, curious. Thank you for your time and process. Is it possible profile to suit different jobs? I would say, it's going to be challenging if you're applying completely different, and that's going to be hard because you do want to have a focus. People being completely unfocused. I want how skill LinkedIn profile review works, because this might be helpful as you're thinking how you can communicate to somebody what you care about. So you see this little bird here. When you click on your profile, it's showing you these different sections, and you can click on it and it'll give you the advice and how to improve that section of your profile. So this is what you have to look forward to when you download this tool and use Chrome on your desktop or on a laptop computer. LinkedIn URL, how to customize it and remove that random string of numbers and letters that comes on all of our profiles. So you are able to remove that. I hope that's helpful. And you know what? I'm sorry. I just want to respect our time. We've had to do is copy these questions and do my best to answer them in our follow-up. And hopefully we can find a way to do that. I'm just going to paste these here. So because you all came in with some really good questions and we've run out of time. But shared that values assessment in the link. We're going to follow up with a recording of the webinar. I want to say thank you so much for making the time to be with us this afternoon. It's been a real pleasure, and we know your time is precious, and it's already late in the day in the future in East Africa, and we're getting close to the end of the day in West and Central. My name is Jennifer Bangoura. I really hope that these tips have helped you think about how you can navigate your career journey, because that's something I care deeply about, and we at Nexford University care deeply about. So thank you so much. We will look forward to being in touch. I'll be in Nairobi next month with Lydia and our colleagues there. We can't wait to see you in person if you're able to join our launch event. You are going to get a feedback survey that we would really welcome your feedback on about this webinar to make sure we are providing relevant ones in the future. I think you will, at least. But so yes, thank you from me to you, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. Take care.